Good morning and welcome to our 229th weekly webcast. Now, if this is the first time you're joining us, welcome. If you've been with us before, welcome back. And so the way this call works is this is an AMA. I mean, you can ask me anything like you see on Reddit. You can ask me business questions, career questions, any questions you want to help you take your career, your investment portfolio, your startup, etc. to the next level. Now, quick housekeeping announcements. Next week, there's not going to be a weekly webcast because I'm going to be in Southern California recording new contents. Okay, cool. And that goes for all my MBA programs as well. Next Thursday, there's no MBA office hours, silver, gold, platinum, or one-on-ones as well. Okay, cool. All right, let me kick it off here with Ginny, who wrote, "Hi, Chris, hope all is well." Good to see you, Ginny. I'm applying for University of Toronto. Would you mind checking your email and take a look at the written recommendation, please? Thank you so much. Yeah. I can, if you want, you can ask me about that during gold and platinum office hours. In terms of your other questions, if that's something you want to publish on your own website, like Teachables, that's cool. But we can also talk about that if you want during the gold and platinum office hours. And thank you. Okay. And then you wrote, I also have a business plan on personal branding. How can I ask for your feedback, please? Yeah. You can ask me here if you want to. Or you can ask me if you want to do Zoom during the gold and platinum student office hours, which is every Thursday from 11:20 until 1:20 p.m. And you're most welcome. Okay. Next up, question is, I'm applying through an agent from Ginny again to a couple of schools in Canada, University of Toronto. Okay, cool. Why don't you ask me all these questions on the gold and platinum call? Thanks so much. Appreciate it. Okay. All right. And then you have a question about a podcast. I am too jammed to do any more podcasts. I'm so sorry. Yeah. Thank you, though. Okay. Next up, Durs wrote, "Hi, Chris. Please explain 1031 exchange. I have never heard of that, but I can't just leave you hanging. So what I'm going to do is let me just do a quick search here. Exchange. So I can at least answer something about this. Yeah, it looks like it might be a real estate exchange. I don't know anything about this, sorry. But congratulations to my son, Andrew. He just got a job, a summer job working in real estate. Okay. Next question is, Bloomberg said an unknown hedge fund manager earns $2 billion payday. Is it possible to do? From 1 year ago. It is. So the way that hedge funds work is they get 20% of the profits that they generate. For example, with Citadel, a big hedge fund I used to work at, last year they made $16 billion, which is the most hedge funds ever made in 1 year and twice as much as the number two. So technically speaking, if somebody worked at Citadel that was responsible for, a third of that, then that person could get a payout like that. But usually it's about 20% of the profits the hedge fund keeps. And the portfolio manager on a given fund, in a good fund with a lot of money, quite often gets 10% of that. So if you want, you can always go to my YouTube channel and watch the first video you see on billions, because I explain compensation in the hedge fund industry in much more detail there. Now, let me take a step back and explain how fees work in private equity, venture capital, and in hedge funds. So there's something called a 2 and 20 fee. And what that means is every year, those funds usually get 2% of the amount of money that they manage. And they use that money, to pay for rent, employees, etc. So for example, if you manage $1 billion, a 2% fee on $1 billion is $20 million. Then the 20, remember there's two parts to the fees, 2 and 20. The 20% is an incentive fee. And what that means is the hedge fund gets to keep part of the money they make for you. So if you're an investor in a hedge fund and you invest $100 and it doubles, you don't get $200, meaning $100 on top of your $100. You get $80 on top of your $100 because the hedge fund keeps 20% of that. So if a hedge fund manages $1 billion and they make 20%, that's $200 million in profits they get to keep. And if you're a portfolio manager at one of those hedge funds and not the owner, at a big hedge fund, you might get half of that amount, so 10%. Okay. All right. Okay, next up we have Prashant from India. How are you? Prashant wrote, "Hi, Chief. Good to see you." Chris, please. But I love you. You wrote, "Hope all is well in your end." Likewise. Your networking tips are incredible, but I'm finding some challengings interacting with CEOs of Fortune companies. We have in India where they are very reserved and very tough. Yeah. They're tough to find contact details. What do you do in that situation? Yeah. So what I always recommend doing, this goes for everybody in this call, always go to the decision maker in any company. So if you're trying to sell a product or a service, you go directly to the top if you can. And the best way to get access to a CEO is to go to shareholder meetings. It's how I've met tons of CEOs in the past, which is gold for networking, for getting a job, for getting customers, etc. And so the way you do it is you go to the website of the company that you're doing research on, or you just do a search on investor relations and the company name. Then you search for annual meeting. And these annual meetings where you can meet the CEO, hardly anybody goes. I don't understand why not. It's usually a bunch of old people like me, and they give you really bad coffee. But what happens is the CEO presents for a couple hours. A couple other executives do too. And then what happens is the C-level management team, I mean the CEO, CFO, et cetera, they don't leave until everybody else leaves the board meeting. And the reason is because they want to show a good example for investors in the audience and maybe some board members as well before they leave the annual shareholder meeting. So what you can do is you can corner the CEO or CFO or CMO, any C-level executive, and you can ask them a ton of questions at the end of that meeting. And they won't leave until everybody leaves, as I mentioned. And then what you can do is you can ask them for a follow-up meeting, or you can say, is your company interested in buying product X or service X, for example? And these are props for the artificial intelligence stuff I'm going to be adding to my MBA degree program really soon. But anybody in your company want to buy these products? And the CEO, she or he might say, yeah, sure. Sally Johnson from, the marketing department might be interested. And then what you can do as a follow-up is you can email Sally Johnson by either going to LinkedIn or guessing the email address as johnson@companyname.com, for example. Keep doing that until it bounces. And you can say the CEO told me to reach out to you to get a one-on-one meeting. But you gotta go in person to these shareholder meetings. Now, I know it's getting tougher these days because of Zoom. A lot more meetings are done over Zoom. But your network is your net worth, and relationships are always more important than product knowledge. And what I recommend you do is go to my website. Anybody that hasn't already done so, it's harounmba.com. And if you go all the way to the bottom here, you can download my networking book for free. It's got a couple hundred pages, a couple hours of YouTube videos. This stuff works, I promise you. And in my MBA program, there's a reason why I start on day one teaching you advanced ways to network. Yeah, it works. Your network is your net worth. And for anybody out there looking for a job, it's tough. It's tough. And it's going to get harder to get a job as well as more people apply online. So right now, if you want to get a job and you see an online posting, you literally have a 1 in 250 chance of getting that job. And the person that gets that job knows somebody at the company. Give me 1 second to get some water here. The person that ultimately gets that job knows somebody at the company. So if those are the unwritten rules, that's what we got to do. What you got to do is you have to get a list of companies you want to work at. And then over LinkedIn, you set up 20 or 30 informational meetings with people that work at those companies. Okay, and I promise you this will work. And during those meetings, what you do is in the first 10 minutes or so, you bond before business. If you're not sure what to talk about, go to their Twitter profile to see who they follow. If they follow basketball stars or football stars, etc., you can talk about that. Just idle chit chat before you get started. And then they're very, very politely going to say to you, why are we meeting? And at that point, you can tell them, you're interested in making a career change or maybe working at that company. You got to ask. Don't forget to ask for the sale always. Ask and you'll receive. It's prophetic. It's been true since the beginning of time. Yeah, this works, I promise you. And if you think that's too much work, doing 30, 40, 50 meetings at a company you want to work at, then ask yourself, how badly do you want that job? Yeah. And what I want you all to do as well, in terms of building the brand of you, and this is my messy office behind the scenes, but what I want you to do is I want you to all write a book as well. And it's really easy to do, and I can tell you exactly how right now. And I want you to think like Nintendo and repurpose your content. And I'll explain what that means. So Nintendo, what they do is with their older games, the 8-bit, 16-bit, and 64-bit Mario games, they repurpose this on newer consoles. Costs them nothing. It's very efficient to do so. I want you to do the same thing as well with the books that you're going to write. Okay. So the way it's going to work is this. And I guarantee you your competition will not do what I'm telling you right now. And I promise you this is going to help you with your career. Whatever it is you're most passionate about in business, I want you to think of yourself as a thought leader. How do you become a thought leader? Well, it's like the Rodin sculpture, I think, therefore I am. So what I want you to do is I want you to write an article every single week for 2 years and publish it on LinkedIn on whatever it is you're most passionate about. You know, for me, sales, business school, networking, whatever it is. I want you to publish those 104 articles over 2 years. Then I want you to repurpose all those articles into a book. Okay? And the reason I say 104 articles is because I want you to have articles that are 600 words, 800 words each. And if you do that for 104 articles, then your book will be big enough to have a spine, unlike me. Yeah. But repurpose the content this way. And what I also want you to do, a la Mario, Nintendo, is I want you to also repurpose your articles into vlogs. So every article you write can become a YouTube vlog or an Instagram story or a TikTok. So anyway, repurpose all your stuff. And then when you go to your informational meetings, I want you to give your book away. Okay. Who does that? How badly do you want that job? Yeah. Give it away to customers too. And the best way to do it is, I'll give you the template. I don't ask for your email or anything. Go to harounmba.com/writebook. Okay. Right here, it's all lowercase. Okay. Whoops, I did uppercase there. I'm having senior moments today, folks. The older I get, the better I was, eh? Okay, right here, yeah. And all you do is you click right here to download this template, okay, this book template. And if you know how to use Microsoft Word and a browser, then you can write a book. Look at me buying time opening this Word doc here. Yeah. So the way it works is there's literally one page of instructions on the first page here, okay? And I teach you how to publish your book like I've humbly done in Kindle, Amazon Paper, and Amazon Audible, which is acx.com format. So all you have to do is fill out this entire template right here. You see it? Really, really easy. Okay. Put a dedication in here. And this is actually what I wrote in my first book here. I wrote to my mom and dad who gave me the faith and confidence to know in my heart that you can accomplish anything in life. Yeah. I love you, mom and dad, so much. Then what you do is you write the introduction, all your contents, and then you right click here and you repaginate, right? Update the table of contents. It's really easy. It's really easy. But remember to repurpose like Nintendo does so you can work smarter and not harder building the brand of you. And marketing is tricky. Like a lot of people don't get, and I didn't get this initially, that marketing takes time. We all want the instant gratification of a sale. But marketing is like dating. My wife, who works at IBM in marketing, said, Chris, you don't get married after one date. You go on lots of dates. So when you're marketing, just be prepared to repeat your message in different ways 10 or 20 times. Like before you buy a Toyota or any car, you usually see the commercial 10 or 20 times. So it takes time. And building the brand of you, marketing yourself, takes time as well. Okay? It's a marathon, not a sprint. So when you're writing these LinkedIn articles every single week and repurposing them like Nintendo does on different platforms, I don't want you to give up. I want you to stay in it. I want you to be committed because I promise you your competition will give up. Now, Rome wasn't built in a day, but I promise you that this stuff works. Yeah. And your competition's going to give up. Okay. Okay. All right. All right. Next up, we have Mike Flynn. Mike, great to see you. Who wrote, "Hi, Chris. Pakistan has become the latest country to switch from the dollar. Yeah. Bloomberg reports that it is planning to pay for Russian oil in Chinese yuan Is US dollar in trouble? Yeah. So the US dollar is certainly becoming a little bit less relevant. I get it, but I really do believe that over the course of my life, the US dollar is still going to be the reserve currency. So it's all relative. And the very last company to go bankrupt, so to speak, on this planet is the US government. It's the lender of last resorts. Yeah. Yeah. Now, there's a reason why recently I've been saying gold is an even better investment now. And I've started to get more bullish on certain cryptos. Do your own homework, please. And the reason why gold is a better investment now, and I think it's going to be an incredible investment in the long run, and what I do is I buy ticker GLD. It's an ETF. So what's happening is people are speculating that, hey, in the long run, if other economies might not buy as much US dollars, a little bit less, then perhaps they'll buy gold. Like the Chinese government, if they're not going to be buying as many US treasuries, and they have to buy them still, they'll buy gold. And that's why gold has gone up. This is a fake prop. I'm a fake teacher. This is why gold has gone up and will continue to go up in the very, very long run. Okay. And this is why certain cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin have had a nice dead cat bounce. Yeah. Okay. All right. And by the way, if you guys buy gold, and I'll show you how to buy it, and always do your own research. Don't buy gold bars because you don't know if they're real. Plus, you have to worry about storing them, which costs you money, and you have to worry about theft. What I do, and my biggest long position in 2008 when I ran my hedge fund, was ticker GLD, and it's an ETF, exchange traded fund, and I'll show you. And it's pretty liquid too. GLD is like buying a stock. And so it trades, 8 or 9 million shares a day, times $187. Very liquid. You can get in and out if you need to. The fees are less than 50 cents per $100 per year. And all this is just gold. That's what I do. This is what I invest in. Yeah. Now, make sure that no asset class from a risk management and portfolio diversification perspective is more than 5% of your liquid net worth. Okay. All right. All right. Next up, Manas from India. Good to see you. Manas wrote, good morning, my dear mentor, Chris, please. Hope all is fine and awesome. And push the goalposts. Okay, good. You're speaking Canadian like me. Good. Okay, Americans, that's how we say it. It's not out. It's Push the goalpost. How are you doing? I'm doing great, and thank you for that. Good to see you. Okay. Next up, Mike Flynn wrote, what are your thoughts on investing in various currencies other than the dollar? Yeah. So I think all currencies are a bad investment because all governments can dilute you. So what's been happening over the past couple of years with the COVID crisis, which looks like it might be coming to an end, although it's sad because 7,000 people die per week in the United States from COVID still. But what happened was with the COVID crisis, governments cut interest rates materially. And what that means, and this is fake money, what that means is they flooded the market with more money. And that made interest rates go down. And what happened was it made all of our net worths go down if all we held was currency. So we have no control over this stuff. So I think that better investments are always stocks, commodities, etc. So I don't recommend investing in any one particular currency. But if you want, what you can do is you can invest in different countries. And if you invest in different countries when it comes to stocks and ETFs, then you're kind of getting exposed to their currency and their companies at the same time. You don't want to just bet on a government. You want to bet on companies because companies are always better run than governments. So here's how you do it. What you can do is you can go to a website, which is called ETFDB. Easy to remember because that's etfdatabase.com. And then you can go to ETFs by geography. Okay. And you can pick countries that you want to invest in, make sure they're stable economies. Okay. So for example, if we wanted to invest in, say, Brazil. So we click here and there's a ticker for an ETF I usually buy that's Brazilian, which is EWZ in Canadian talk, which is right here. Okay. So for example, this ticker here. Then once you get this ticker, what I want you to do is I want you to look at the fees and the volume. Okay. Now the fees, it's kind of high here. It's a little bit less liquid than other ETFs. So if you want to buy, and for those of you listening to the podcast, I'll spell this out too. The ticker is EWZ, or EWZ. And for the expense ratio, it's 0.58. That means for every $100 you put into this Brazil ETF, you're going to pay 58 pennies per year in fees, which is nothing compared to mutual funds, which are a ripoff, which have hidden fees. Then what you're going to do is you're going to look at the holdings as well. Okay. Now, the holdings here, we know that Brazil, like Canada and Australia, is very natural resource rich. So Petrobras is a big holding here, which is petroleum Brazil, and a bunch of other commodity-based companies. And a little side note here, but the Canadian dollar, Australian dollar, and Brazilian real tend to go up when commodities are going up. Yeah. Okay. So the next step is once you have that ticker, I want you to check out the volume. Okay. You never want to buy something that's illiquid because, as many hedge funds learned in 2008, illiquid stocks own you in a down market versus an up market. Okay. So I'm going to type here EWZ, here in Yahoo Finance. And we can see here the average daily volume right here is 25 million shares. So 25 million times $29, it's pretty damn liquid. You can get in and out. So if you want to invest in different currencies, I would start to do research like this on various different ETF. Yeah. Okay. All right. Great questions today. All right. Next up, Kevin, who's in my MBA program. Good to see you. I hope you're doing well. Kevin's based in Florida, like my parents are half the year in Lauderdale. Okay. Give me 1 second, guys. Sorry. Sometimes YouTube jumps on me. Okay. Caught up here. All right. Manos wrote, will Donald Trump's arrest cause civil unrest in the United States? Oof. I think that's already in the past. Yeah. I think every decision has been made. He's appealing that other lawsuit. And I watched the CNN telecast last night. Now, it was a big deal because Trump went on CNN for the first time since 2016. And, it was done in New Hampshire, and the audience was mainly Republicans. Yeah. Yeah. So there was the bias, to be intellectually honest, there was the bias because the audience were mainly Republican, and the interviewer was a Democrat, right? So they kind of offset each other. Yeah. Okay. And I'm not going to comment on what he said and legitimacy of what he said. Okay. All right. So you wrote here, will Trump's arrest cause civil unrest in the United States? Sorry to ask about this dark question, but his supporters are crazy after him. And after all, he is against the present government and also against Ukraine. Okay, I got to go there. Okay, so last night he was asked about Ukraine, and he was specifically asked by the interviewer if he thinks that Putin is a war criminal, and he didn't come out and say that Putin is a war criminal. And I don't care if you're Democrat or Republican. If you want to get peace, if you come after somebody and make a statement like that, the likelihood of peace goes down. Okay. I personally think he is a war criminal, but I understand why he kind of averted that question a little bit. Okay. And I'm not supporting him or Democrat. I'm more of a libertarian. And for me, it all depends on who the elected official is for me to go Democrat or Republican. But if you want to have peace, you can't come after somebody like that. I do think he's a war criminal, though. Absolutely. Absolutely. He said that he could find... Oh, God, I can't believe I'm going there, but I am. He said that he could end the war in one day. I think that's an exaggeration. I do. Yeah. Okay, let me steer away from politics, okay? Okay. Okay. All right. Next question is from Priscilla, who wrote, can we still purchase the silver MBA if not the gold package? Yeah. Yeah, you certainly can. Yeah, just go to harounmba.com to learn more. Yeah. Okay. Eric, who's also based in Florida, in my silver MBA wrote, is Disney properly priced right now? Yeah. So when I value companies, I always value them based on my earnings estimates in 5 or 10 years. So I never look at the current PE of a company. I always look at what they can make in terms of earnings in the long run, in the very, very long run. Yeah. Okay. And I'll never tell my students, I say this with love in my heart, I'll never tell you what to buy. I'll teach you how to fish instead of providing you with a fish. So you can eat for a lifetime, as my hero said. You know who my hero is. Okay. And I want to thank you all for your prayers last week for my friend Vital. He's going to be okay. Yeah. Okay. Next up, we have Jason Bourne. Hey, Jason, how are you? Okay. You wrote, "Hi, Chris. I'm a Gold MBA member. Just to clarify, are these separate live classes for MBA members or these YouTube weekly live broadcasts live? Yeah, no. So you can certainly join if you want. Anybody can join this, right? This is for the public as well. But if you want to join the Gold and Platinum students only office hours, then what you do is you go up here and you look at the calendar based on whatever program you're a part of. Okay, whether it's the January class, June class, May class, September class. And I'm not launching another program this year. The next one I'm launching is next year. I've got big changes involved in the program, including adding just a ton of artificial intelligence stuff. I'm trying to become an absolute expert in AI to teach you all this stuff as well, which will be part of the MBA curriculum. Yeah. And of course, that involves ChatGPT, machine learning, everything. We're even doing stuff now on Power BI. I'm going to be teaching my MBA students as well on how to use Tableau and also Python. That's right. And I partnered with an incredible student and probably the smartest person I've ever met, which is a guy named Luca Anderson. And he is an artificial intelligence expert. He's based in Serbia. He's flying here to stay at my house for 7 days at the beginning of June. He's amazing. He teaches on Udemy as well. He's got hundreds of thousands of students. And Google called him one of 20 machine learning experts that can best advise Google on where to take their strategy next. Yeah. Again, his name is Luca Anderson. I'm working very hard with him as well on that. And I'm trying to keep the MBA very relevant. Since day one, I always said this is going to be the most up-to-date MBA program on the planet. And so I'm going deep into data analytics, business intelligence, programming, etc. I used to be a programmer. In my MBA program, I already added how to program and use every feature of Excel. And for those of you in the MBA program, if you want to access that Excel elective, go to harounmba.com. In the top right-hand corner, I'm trying to be descriptive for the podcast. This is syndicated many different places. In the top right-hand corner, click on the button called MBA Curriculum Search. And then you can scroll down here and select whatever program it is you're a part of to get access to the Excel elective. On this same web page, you can type in anything you want to, okay? And you'll see exactly where in the MBA program I cover that topic. For example, we search for venture capital here. You'll see, this is me buying time while the website refreshes, you'll see where you can access lessons on venture capital, depending on which MBA that you signed up for. Okay. Okay. All right. And so, Jason, the weekly for Gold and Platinum MBA office hours is 11:20 to 1:20 every week. And we do Zoom as well. Yeah. Okay. Next up, Manas wrote, the debt ceiling is getting a big problem, but obviously they'll never default because they can print more money. That's right. Why is everyone so worried about it then? Yeah, it's always posturing. So the way it works is if any first world country's debt gets downgraded, for example, okay, I'm not talking about default, I'm talking about downgraded. Historically, 1 year later, the market has been higher. And yes, I have many precedents for this when the debt was downgraded for Japan, for Canada, for the United States. Yeah. And usually the way it works is there's a lot of political posturing, okay, from Democrats and Republicans. And then eventually at the last minute, they come together and say, okay, we solved it. And I think that's what's going to happen again. Yeah. And please don't ever let the media scare you. Okay. The problem with the media is they've lost so much market share to handhelds, other form factors, that the only way to get you to continue to watch is through fear. So they might say something like this: find out why the U.S. is going to default in their debt and the U.S. dollar is going to go to zero after this commercial break. So just be careful with the media always. I always want you to do your own research. I think the best investors in the world do not live in New York City. because if you live in New York, you're surrounded by other investors and you become part of, the hedge fund mafia or groupthink, right? I think the best investors live outside of New York, and I want all of you to always do your own research instead of relying on other people. Don't ever rely on me or anybody on television to tell you what to buy. Now, in my MBA program, I provide you with all the tools and templates you need in order to make any investment based on your due diligence. And if you don't do your own investment research on stocks, then what happens is you sell at the worst time. And Warren Buffett once said that the New York Stock Exchange is the only store in the world where consumers sell stuff when it goes on sale. Think about how illogical that is. A lot of people let their emotions get the best of them by listening to the media. Things are never as bad as you think, I promise you. And always think long term. As Warren Buffett said, the longer the view, the wiser the intention. Day trading does not work. Okay, next question is a recession coming soon? And what are the repercussions going to be? If not, what is going on down the line? Yeah. So the question is a recession coming through and what are the repercussions? Yeah. So I'd say right now, the chances of a recession in Q4 of this year, the fourth quarter, is about 50%, right? And so a lot of economists are expecting GDP to be slightly negative in Q4. Right now, the textbook definition of a recession is 2 consecutive quarters of negative GDP growth. I don't think it's going to be that severe. Everybody's freaking out about inflation. I think things are actually getting better than expected. I saw the inflation numbers, and I think things are actually getting better. Now, what is much worse than a recession is stagflation. And what that means is inflation, meaning prices going up and the economy contracting. That is terrifying. And that's what happened in the early 1980s, right? And what the Federal Reserve had to do at that point in time, a guy named Paul Volcker, what they had to do is they had to raise interest rates to above 20%. Things are not as bad now as they were back then, because back then we had unemployment above 10%. But given the internet and price discovery, I think that inflation is going to be kept in check in the long run. And I can go into more details on that. For more details on that, you can do a search on guest articles I've written in many magazines like Wired, Entrepreneur, etc., on why cloud computing is deflationary longer term. Yeah, and I just got my own column in Forbes magazine. So for those of you that want to follow me on Forbes, please do so as well. Thank you. Yeah. Okay. All right. Next up. Yeah. What do you do with dividends when calculating Black-Scholes models? Yeah. So for those who are not familiar with Black-Scholes, so there's 3 ways to value options, meaning puts or calls. Okay. And I'll make this quick, I promise you. One way is using the binomial pricing theorem, which is my favorite way to value options. Another way is using Black-Scholes. And the third and final way is using Monte Carlo simulation. The problem with Black-Scholes is you cannot account for dividends. So if you want to account for dividends when it comes to options, use the binomial pricing theorem. And Eric, I know you're in my Gold MBA program. Please go to the 30-hour elective in FA44 for more details. That's Finance and Accounting Semester 4, Class 4. Thank you. Okay. Next up, Manas wrote Bard. And Bard, for those of you not familiar with that, is Google's version of ChatGPT. You wrote, Bard just got better and awesome. I've used it. You should too. It's kind of like the latest version of ChatGPT. What are your thoughts? I have not tried Bard recently. I use ChatGPT 4.0 because I'm using the API as well. And I'll explain why in my MBA program when I add the new content later this year. But just be careful with all of these AI systems because quite often they're confidently wrong. ChatGPT is confidently wrong. You have to double check all the data and the sources. And my son, Andrew, who turned 19 2 days ago, this is him here when he was younger. Blue's the theme today, folks. My son, Andrew, he's at Berkeley, and he told me that if they try to submit an article, or pardon me, an essay at university using ChatGPT or any AI algorithm, what happens is the professors there use an algorithm to double check to see if they use an algorithm. And for my Forbes column, before I publish any articles, I published 1 or 2 so far, but well, actually, the editor is looking at one of them, hasn't published the second one yet. But before I publish an article, what happens is a pop-up box appears in the browser that says, did you use AI or ChatGPT to write this? And I always have to select no. The problem is if you all use ChatGPT for stuff you're submitting online, articles, etc., it's a very gray area from a copyright perspective because we don't know the sources are valid, or maybe it is from another source. And maybe ChatGPT and Bard own that content. We don't know yet. It's a very gray line, so be very careful. Don't write a book or articles using ChatGPT, but you can certainly use ChatGPT, Bard, or Microsoft's version called Bing Chat. You can use that just to help you do research in general, but do not publish stuff using it, please. Not yet. We don't know what the precedents are legally. Yeah. Okay. Now, it's ironic. It's the innovator's dilemma with Google, because Google actually created the T in ChatGPT, but Google did not deploy their own ChatGPT-like service years ago when they invented part of the technology. And the reason is because all of this AI infrastructure stuff, whether it's Bing, ChatGPT, or Bard, all of that costs a lot of money. It costs like $100 billion to build out an infrastructure for these AI algorithms. And so if Google were to do that a couple of years ago, and they could have, it would have literally hurt their operating profit each year by approximately $30 billion. And investors would have hated it. And this is one of the first of all, when we heard about Microsoft kind of with Bing Chat, you know, my first impression was, oh my God, I got to go and do research on Microsoft and buy the stock. But if you peel back the layers of the onion, so to speak, there, you'll find that it's very expensive. CapEx is ridiculously high in order to deploy a service like this. So what are the best investments then for this AI revolution? Well, it's probably in the chip sector. This is an Intel chip, but it's probably, companies like NVIDIA, ticker NVDA. Because the way it works with artificial intelligence and ChatGPT from a cloud infrastructure perspective, the technology that you're using is largely GPUs, okay, graphic processing, okay, which is used in video games and cryptocurrencies, and also what are called TPUs, which is another way to do complex calculations at a cheaper cost, which uses less energy. CPUs are not used as much because CPUs can usually just do one thing at a time, whereas GPUs and TPUs, new term, can do a lot more things at the same time. It's more cost effective. Yeah. Okay. All right. But I do use ChatGPT 4.0. I think it's great, but always double check the data. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. And what I'm actually doing is in this artificial intelligence stuff I'm adding to my MBA curriculum. Bonus points to anybody who can tell me what this is from. But I've got a case study on this company, okay? And whoever tells me what company this is, the first person to tell me actually what TV show it comes from, wins my silver MBA program. The first person, okay? All right, whoever types it first. But what I'm doing is a case study on analyzing, using ChatGPT and machine learning, on analyzing restaurant sales when rain is high. And ChatGPT has helped me get all the data for it. And so there's a negative correlation between sales for restaurants and rain. When rain goes up a lot, people don't go out to eat as much. And this is actually how a lot of the biggest hedge funds in the world make a fortune. They have algorithms, and I'll talk about one in particular. There's a hedge fund called Renaissance Technologies. And it's run by this brilliant mathematician that used to work at the NSA named Jim Simmons. And what he's done is he created this hedge fund that has made over 60% on a gross basis every year on average since the 1980s. And he did it using AI and machine learning, okay? And what he did was this. He has thousands of Linux servers running in parallel, and there's a ton of inputs that go into those servers, and outputs are which stocks to buy or go short. For example, one might be, if it's raining a lot in certain areas, right, that's an input, then short restaurant stocks. Yeah. All right. All right, Chris, you typed in the name of the company correctly, but the person who won was Ahmed. Ahmed, congratulations. Ahmed wins my silver MBA. You're right. This is from Breaking Bad. And the CEO of this company was Gus, who I think is one of the most underrated cool characters on TV. All right. So Ahmed, please email support@harounventures.com. And in the next couple of days, we'll send you the Silver MBA for free. And thank you. That was fun. Okay. All right. Okay. Next question. Another question on options, which is Black-Scholes model. How do you get it to work with non-European options? Yeah. So if you're going to use American options, which are basically most of the options used on the planet, what you want to do is you want to value them using the binomial pricing theorem instead. Yeah. Okay. So American options, you can sell them before expiration. European, you wait until expiration. And it has nothing to do with countries in Europe. It's just what they're called. Yeah. Always use, go to FA44 in the curriculum and just use the binomial pricing theorem. Each one of those spreadsheets I created for you has 10,302 calculations per tab to calculate using the binomial pricing theorem and all those crazy inputs, value of puts and calls. Yeah. If anybody wants me to talk about puts and calls in more detail, I'm happy to do so using Coca-Cola as an example. Okay. And then Peyton Calloway wrote, Chris the frickin' goat. Thank you. Dude, when somebody, God bless you for that. When somebody wrote that, the first time I saw goat, I was like, oh my God, they're calling me like an old lamb or something, or old goat. But I looked up the meaning of that, and thank you. God bless you, Peyton. Hope you're doing well, man. Hope you're doing well. Great to see you. And Peyton, let me know if you want to join Zoom right now. If you can do it, I'd love to ask you questions about what's going on in your business. I know your startup is red hot, and I always love learning for you when it comes to future tech. Thanks. So let me know right here. Yeah. You might be working, might not be able to do it, but I'd love to hear from you. And I miss you. Okay. All right. Next up, Manos wrote, the godfather of AI quit Google. Yeah, I saw that the other day. Luca Innocent told me about that. Yeah. Quit Google and said AI could be fatal if not controlled. But my question is how to control it, specifically AI in China and Russia, or even in India where you're based, gets totally out of control. Yeah. Yeah. So Warren Buffett, I was surprised he said this. It was interesting. He was asked about AI, and he said we have to be really careful. And I agree with him because there's no going back. Once you release it to the public and make it accessible and unchecked, you can't go back. There's no turn. It's scary. And so what I'm doing as part of the curriculum for my for my MBA program, what I'm doing is I'm talking about tons of different types of AI and what can happen if we get Skynet, for example. Okay, and Skynet, for those of you not familiar with it, is from the Terminator movies. Yeah, here it is here, Skynet. Yeah, it can be deadly. And I think, and I do agree with Elon Musk that we have to keep AI in check. And I think within a decade, every major economy and large corporation are going to have departments of AI and ethics, or a C-level AI position, a CAI or something. And we have to do this because if computers are given too much autonomy, they can make highly illogical decisions, which could really cause more harm than good. Scary. Okay. In terms of AI in China and Russia, I'm more of an optimist. And I think the way to solve geopolitical issues, aside from education, which gets rid of ignorance, is the way to solve a lot of these issues is just globalization. Everybody being so reliant on each other. America and China have to trade together. And the more globalization takes part, the less likely it is that we're going to have big issues in this world, I think. And lastly, Malala said, with guns, you can kill terrorists, but with education, you can kill terrorism. And that's why I do what I do. I really do believe, and this is the subject of my TEDx talk, I really do believe that education can solve every problem in the world. I do, before it happens. Okay. All right. Next up, Electronics on Site, who is Eduardo, based in Texas. Good to see you. Eduardo was in my gold program, but asked for his money back. And I was very happy to give you money back as well. Great to see you. And I hope your son is doing well. I think you mentioned he's the third best Taekwondo athlete in the country now. I hope he proudly represents the United States next Olympics. So Eduardo, who wrote, hi, Chris. With the warnings of the upcoming recession, what are your thoughts on gold for a store of value? Yeah, earlier on in this webcast, I said I'm very bullish on gold, but in the long run. And you can't call a stock or any investment within 3 to 6 months. You got to be long-term focused. Speaking of gold, this here is Coca-Cola. You know, Warren Buffett said that if you bought the Coca-Cola IPO in 1919 or whatever it was, 1 year later you'd be down 50%. But in the long run, you'd be up a gazillion percent. And so when Buffett first started buying Coca-Cola in 1988, he said, I'm never selling it. And he said that publicly so many times. He still owns it today. And whenever Warren Buffett buys a stock or anything, he always tells himself, I don't care if the market is closed for 10 years. We have to be the same way because we cannot call the path, but if we do enough research, we can call the destination, meaning the target price. Yeah. And remember, the market can stay irrational longer than we can all stay solvent. Yeah. But I am bullish on gold. Okay. In the long run. Okay. Moving on to Manas from India wrote, I'm not afraid of AI or any new technology, but I'm a little worried about how things are happening because OpenAI CEO loves communism and hates capitalism and believes in doomsday. What are your comments? Yeah, I haven't read those articles as well. I don't know. He kind of reminds me of the whole hippie generation, which actually did more good than bad coming out of Berkeley back in the 1960s. It led to open source, which means sharing software, making it freely accessible, and freedom of information. Yeah, I'm more of an optimist. Yeah. But I do believe that governments will keep OpenAI and all AI in check in the future. Yeah, to the extent that I think that certain companies are going to be broken up by the U.S. government and different governments. For example, Google. It's not fair that Google owns the two biggest search engines in the world, YouTube and Google. And if any company becomes too powerful from an AI perspective, the government will break them up for sure. Yeah. Okay. All right, Ralph, how are you? Good to see you. All right, moving on to Anurag, who wrote, hey, Chris, Sundar Pichai, the CEO of Google, and by the way, I don't think he's going to be the CEO for that much longer. Yeah. Google has not done anything innovative in years. Since Gmail, they've done nothing. Nothing. Yeah. Okay. You wrote, he was noticed mentioning AI 65 times in his speech recently. Is AI going to take over a lot of jobs? And how should we hedge ourselves to remain valuable? Yeah, I wouldn't be worried. I think it's going to be more additive to us. Now, I remember when Google was first publicly released in early 1999. You know, a lot of university professors and teachers were upset. They're like, oh my gosh, this is terrible. You know, students they're supposed to go to the library and look through microfiche, and now Google's going to help them write their papers. It was additive and deflationary. The same professors said that about Wikipedia. Oh, this is awful. We want our students to do research instead. It was additive. I think the same thing is going to be said when it comes to AI. And I compare and contrast it to robotics and the auto industry back in the 1980s. You know, everybody was worried, oh my God, robots are going to take our jobs. No, they're going to help us with our jobs. AI is going to be additive. And if AI replaces certain things like copywriting or makes it more helpful, then copywriters will find other jobs. You know, it's like saying, oh my God, the ATM came out. What's going to happen to bank tellers? You know, banks are going to have to, let people go. No, people will always retrain. Yeah. Okay. And by the way, if any of you are in university, high school, whatever, graduate students, if your teachers tell you not to use Wikipedia, I still think you should. But when you go to Wikipedia to do your research, look at the sources and go to those sources to do your research. Yeah. Yeah, I'm not a Luddite. Okay. Luddite means you don't like tech, right? I think so. Yeah. Okay. All right. Next up, Anurag wrote, what role will AI play in the investment world. Yeah. So I really think that, like I mentioned earlier with Renaissance Technologies, which is a hedge fund that's made over 60% gross adjusted basis since the 80s. I really think that investors are going to make a lot of money by creating algorithms. And I'm so excited about it that that's the direction I'm taking my MBA program. I've already taught every major topic in business in the MBA program, more or less. And that's why I'm going deep, deep, deep into technology. And I think one of the most valuable skills you can learn right now is machine learning, Python programming as well. Because I think we're going to be able to create our own algorithms in order to profit in the long run. And I mentioned earlier on with my example from Breaking Bad about analyzing weather patterns. Use that to analyze different industries as well. Yeah. And I really do believe in using technology to make companies more efficient. So for example, in my company, I don't have any employees. I never have. I have an S corporation. I have contractors I can turn on and turn off. And I use a lot of software and automation products as well to do repetitive tasks. And I plan on using a heck of a lot more AI as well in my MBA program to scale it in the future. Yeah. Okay. All right. Next up, Manas wrote, will AI replace teachers like you and me? And if yes, will it be interesting and cool because humans are humans and we love humanity? I don't know. Maya Angelou once said, people might not remember what you said, but they'll never forget the way you made them feel. And so I really do believe that delivery is important. If that wasn't the case, people would just, read books or textbooks to learn about business or education. I really think it's all about the person delivering the message. But in the long run, I think that Hollywood studios will invent actors that are all AI based. We won't know the difference. They'll just kind of look like an avatar. Yeah. All right. Okay, next question. A lot of great questions about AI here. And I'm glad you guys are asking all these questions because that's exactly where I'm taking the MBA program. And this here explains the basis of AI, which is going to be part of the MBA program. Yeah. Using Russian dolls. Yeah. We're even doing a case study on AI recognizing Beatles characters as well. Yeah. And I love to teach with prompts. Okay. All right. Next question from Bakula is, what are your thoughts on AI changing venture capital allocation models, the discount rate, leaner startups, smaller checks to more, meaning checks this way. Also thoughts on current macro affecting VC. Yeah. So, okay, venture capital is very different from investing in stocks. Okay, venture capital is investing in private companies. And the most important thing about venture capital is investing in great management teams. So I'd always rather, when I worked in VC, we used to say, we'd always rather invest in an A management team with a B business model than invest in a B management team with an A business model. So at this point, AI can't really assess a person. They can't assess whether or not it makes sense to invest in somebody. So I think that venture capitalists in the near future, next couple decades or so, will be better judges of personalities, management style, etc., than computers will be. Ideas are commodities, but execution is not. Yeah. But in terms of your question on leaner startups, yeah, I think AI is going to lead to leaner startups. As I mentioned earlier, everything I do in my company, and I always run it like a startup. I don't have any employees. I use a lot of automation. I'm going to be using more AI as well to automate more stuff. That way I can be much more productive. Yeah. Which helps my bottom line so I can build even more schools in Africa and give away more scholarships. Yeah. And little side note, I'm going to Rwanda again this summer. We built our first school there. We're going to start working on a second one soon. And I'm going to try to do this weekly webcast from the school as well, if I can get broadband. I will get broadband. I'll figure it out. Okay. Next question is, what are your thoughts on the current macro environment affecting venture capital? Yeah. Whenever interest rates go up, which they have, risky asset classes get destroyed. So as interest rates have gone up, There's less money going into VC. And when was the last time you heard somebody mention NFT or metaverse? Metaverse is spelled MEH, metaverse. Whenever rates go up, other asset classes go down. And it makes sense. Because if you can get more money by buying lower risk government bonds, for example, with a decent return, why would you invest in stuff like NFTs or venture capital? Now, venture capital has got the perfect storm going for it. Number one, you've got higher interest rates and a slowing economy. Number two, Silicon Valley Bank, which is temporary, I think. But it's a big deal because SVB was the most prestigious, and I always respected them a lot. And I met with the CEO and founder, in his office, and I thought it was a great company. And I think part of it was self-fulfilling. But SVB was basically the quintessential debt machine to lend money to startups. Yeah. But if you look at the most recent quarter of money inflows into venture capital, it was the weakest we've seen since 2017. All right. Okay. Next up, Frenchie wrote, what is your view on email campaigns when raising capital? Yeah. So email is still the gold standard in terms of getting customers. And you'll notice that I mention that networking book every now and then. I've gotten more than 30,000 email addresses by mentioning that over the past couple of years. So it works. It works exceptionally well. But when you're talking about raising capital, you have to get lawyers involved. Okay, if you're going to use emails to raise money, it might just be the first starting point of getting a meeting. So once you get a meeting with somebody to pitch your product, whatever it is, make sure you get a lawyer to write your investment offering memorandum. Kind of like Facebook or Meta did with this. SEC.gov mandates that you have to write these things, these investment offering memorandums. You have to do that. And a little side note, when it comes to cryptocurrencies, and I publicly said that I think that 95% plus of cryptos are an absolute scam. I think the SEC is going to regulate cryptos very soon, which is good for us because the likelihood of us getting scammed will go down a lot. I think that in order to invest in cryptocurrencies, you should have investment bankers or somebody write these investment offering memorandums. And the whole world is watching, the crypto world is watching very closely what's happening with Ripple. Ripple, ticker XRP, which is kind of like a crypto for financial services firms. The Southern District of New York court system is suing Ripple because Ripple raised over $1 billion without issuing one of these things. And I think it's going to set a precedent. I think Ripple's going to lose that lawsuit. And what's going to happen is the SEC is going to oversee the regulation of cryptos, which is better for all of us because the likelihood of us getting scammed will go down a lot. Yeah. Okay. And whenever there's a financial crisis, what comes is regulation, to protect consumers, right? And I'm a believer in small government. I'm a libertarian. Ronald Reagan is probably my ideal president from a political perspective. But there's got to be some protection, man. Like after the stock market crashed in the 1920s, the SEC was invented in 1933. After the stock market bubble that peaked in March of 2000, regulation, fair disclosure was created. In 2008, after we were within 24 hours of bank machines not working, Bernard Frank and other Congress people got together to create new regulation. And what happened with the FTX last year and the crypto scams? After that, what's going to happen is regulation. I think the Securities and Exchange Commission is going to regulate cryptos, and I think that's a good thing. Yeah. And by the way, if anybody ever gets an email from me or any message from me at all asking for cryptos, it's not me. I finally got verified on Instagram, but before that, it was a weekly basis where somebody pretended to be me trying to get cryptos out of my students. I would never do that. Okay. All right, next up question is, last week, a crypto named Pepe Coin, a meme, bad word coin, or SHLT, sorry, I thought it was a bad word, went up 170 times in 5 days. Why does this pump and dump happen, and should we stay away? Yeah, there are so many criminals investing in cryptos. There are good cryptos, and I publicly disclose which ones I own, and I'm never selling, which are as follows. Bitcoin, Litecoin, Ripple, and Ethereum. But just don't get involved in these things. And if you are going to get involved, I always recommend never having more than 0.5% of your liquid net worth in any one crypto, no matter what. Okay, and never have more than 5% of your portfolio in cryptos in general. Now, the reason why a stock or a crypto could go up 170 times like that is probably because volume is very, very light. And also because there's probably a lot of manipulation going on, like pump and dump schemes. And the government is going to come after people for that. They've already started doing that. And YouTube has actually banned a bunch of crypto people that many of us are familiar with for doing exactly that, pumping and dumping. Any manipulation of any investment class is a gray area and is most likely against the law. Stock manipulation is against the law too. Like if you go to a forum online and start pumping a meme stock, you're going to get in trouble from the SEC. And when I say you, I'm talking about all of us, of course. And I think that what happened in January of 2021 with GameStop is going to set a legal precedent. In January of 2021, GameStop went up 29.4 times. A lot of it was because of manipulation. Yeah. And I do think some people are going to get arrested based on that. Yeah. But my heart does not bleed for the hedge funds that lost money. For them, this is the world's smallest violin. Okay. All right, give me 1 second, guys. Okay. Okay, next question is, where do you get your jackets from? I'm going to be having some in the next few months. Any suggestions? Yeah. So I get this from, there's a store in Burlingame, Burlingame, called Sam Malouf. So this is where I get them. Yeah, a little bit too much blue today, right? Yeah. And I'm trying something different here in the background with this this light here. I usually go all blue like that, but I'm going with this now. That's too much. That looks like an Apple commercial. That's better. There we go. Okay, good. Look at me, man. I'm shining. When you do these things with these bright lights, man, you get perspiration. So for those of you doing Zoom meetings, get one of these things, and what you can do is get rid of the shine. Maybe I'm beautiful, maybe it's Maybelline. Yeah. So I'll get rid of the shine. I go through these things fast though. See, you can see the bottom of it already because my nose is so big, dude. It's huge. Yeah. Okay. A little bit less shiny. Okay, we're good. All right. Okay. Caroline, how are you? Good to see you. And I'm looking forward to seeing you today at 10 a.m. in our weekly Zoom for silver students. Okay. Bakul wrote, venture capital allocation models and AI effects. Discount. Okay. Yeah, you asked that question before, I think. Yeah. I think. Yeah, I think you did. Most of that. Okay. Eric wrote, what value do you have for Disney in 10 years? Yeah. I mean, I'd have to go through a financial model. If you want, I know you're in my gold MBA, go to the FA classes, Finance and Accounting, in semester 1 and semester 2, and you can download the templates on how to value companies. And you can value Disney based on your earnings estimates in 10 years or so, or using DCF if you want. But what I usually ask myself is this with any company and sector. Do I think Disney is going to be more relevant or less relevant in 10 years? Probably more relevant. I mean, they bought Lucas for only $4 billion. I think they'll continue to pump out Star Wars franchises, etc. And they'll probably do fine. But I'm not that close to it anymore. Did Bob Iger come back? You got to look at management closely too. Yeah. So I don't know. I'll let you decide. Okay, next up, Chris Cowell. Hey, Chris, how are you, man? Who wrote, hey, buddy, do you think that Anheuser-Busch's stock will tank? Loving your MBA so far. Thank you from the United Kingdom. Thank you. Good to see you. Yeah. I don't know what's going to happen with Anheuser-Busch. I saw the same stuff that you see online with respect to Bud Light. I just don't know. Yeah. What I recommend doing if you want is in the MBA curriculum in the first and second semester. Watch the finance and accounting lectures, and then download the templates that will help you value companies. Yeah. And then you can go to EMS 4-2, Economics Management and Strategy Semester 4, Class 2, if you want to download the 100-step investment write-up template. Yeah. Good to see you. All right, we have another Chris C, who wrote, "Hey, Chris, what's the automated email marketing software cadence management system you use? I love it. You once mentioned you automate your marketing efforts." Yeah, it's called Active Campaign. Yeah, so basically, when you guys start building your email list by giving away a book or whatever it is, start with MailChimp because it's free. And once you have more than a couple thousand, you can't use MailChimp anymore, just not scalable enough. Then you can switch over to Active Campaign. Yeah. But do searches for coupons. Yeah, always. It's pricey sometimes. Okay. All right, Ralph wrote, "What if you missed class on the Gold MBA program? Can you still catch up?" Yeah, you have access forever. You just watch the online replays. Yeah. Okay. And there are big changes coming to the MBA program. Starting next year, the price is going to be a lot higher, and there's so much more stuff coming. I can't disclose it yet, though, but I'm very excited about it. Behind the scenes, we're working very hard on something big. Yeah. Okay. All right, Radu, how are you? Radu's in my Platinum MBA. He is from Romania. Good to see you. He's got a heart of gold. Okay. Moving on to Abel, who wrote, "Hey, Chris, hope all is well. Likewise. I never invest in the stock market. How can I start investing, and what kind of advice do you have?" Yeah. So if you don't have time to do due diligence on individual stocks, then just buy what are called ETFs. So the first ETF you might want to look at, meaning exchange traded fund, which means a collection of stocks to make up an index. The first ETF you want to look at, which I own, do your research first, is VOO, V-O-O. And I'll show that to you. Okay. So if we go here together to finance.yahoo.com and we type in VOO right here, okay. This here is probably one of the best long-term investments you can make. In my humble opinion, do your research first. One of the best investments you can make if you don't have time to roll up your sleeves to do investment research on companies in detail. So this here represents the 500 stocks that make up the U.S. economy, ticker VOO. The fees are extraordinarily low at only 3 pennies per year for every $100 you put in. It's very liquid as well. It makes up the U.S. economy. The 12 sectors of this ETF are listed right here. The biggest one of which is technology. Technology was 23% at the beginning of the year. It's now 27% of this index because tech stocks have rebounded. This represents the breadth and depth of the U.S. economy. As you can see down here, the top 10 holdings are largely tech companies until you get to an insurance company here called Berkshire. 28% of this fund that Buffett, of course, runs with Charlie Munger is in insurance companies. Yeah. And historically speaking, the S&P 500, ticker VIP, the S&P 500 is up 10.5% per year on average. So if all you did was every year for 20 years, you took your entire 401k retirement savings account of about 22K and you put it into VOO or the S&P 500, you'll have some down years, of course, but it'll be up 10.5% on average. And in the long run, you'll have more than $1 million saved from a $22,000 investment in that every year for 20 years, right? Just set it and forget it. Don't think about it. You'll be fine in the long run. The last company to go belly up on the planet would be the U.S. government. So I think it's a sound long-term investment. So if that's all you put into your 401k, in 20 years you have $1 million. If your spouse did it, then you'll have $2 million. Then there's something called an educational savings program for your kids. If you did that for your kids, you maxed out 16 grand per year, which is hard to do every year. Then by the time they're 18 or 19, whatever, looking to go to university, if they want to go, that's another 700K. If you have 3 kids, 700K times 3 is 2.1 million. And if you and your spouse max out your RRSP or your 401k every year, that's an extra 2 million. So there's $5 million. That doesn't even include the appreciation on your house. And yes, I get it. We can't all contribute every year or buy a house early on in our lives, and times are tough. But the longer the view, the wiser the intention. So my answer is start investing by looking at ticker VOO. And then in my MBA curriculum, I teach you different ways to invest in stocks and other asset classes. Yeah. And if you want, you can practice with a paper portfolio. You can download a software product for free made by TD Ameritrade called Think or Swim. And what you can do is you can have a pretend or paper portfolio to invest in stocks that way. You can practice first if you want. And if you're in a country where you cannot download Think or Swim, what you can do is just use a VPN. Yeah. Okay. All right, Awes, how are you? Good to see you. Who wrote, how are you doing? I'm always good, thank you. Hope you're doing well. Welcome to the house of Habibi. Okay. All right, next question is a four-parter. Number one, Chris, I'm a final year BCom, Bachelor of Commerce, economics student with a background in econometrics, and I'm really interested in becoming a quant analyst. I've been studying Python R, which is another programming language people use when it comes to machine learning. I've been studying Python R and taking your financial modeling course to prepare myself. Thank you. I also plan to revise math concepts like calculus and probability in my spare time. Yeah. Instead of that, just spend some time in Excel learning linear regression. And then what you want to do is add the solver plugin and then run a regression and understand all of the data points that come out of that, including ANOVA and much, much more. Yeah. And then he wrote, in addition, I'm planning to create some financial models and a blog to showcase my skills on my website. By the way, I recently created a website for someone and managed to get a free photo shoot for my corporate images, which I can use on my LinkedIn. On a different note, I'm also a bit scared of AI and its potential impact on the job market. Do you think this is a valid concern? And if so, how can I future-proof my career in this field? I think you're totally set because you're learning Python and R, right? So you're basically learning the most important tools to make AI a reality. So I think AI can only help you with your career. Yeah. Yeah. All right. And then Awes wrote, I'm excited for the AI topic. Me too. I can't wait to release it to you guys. And I can't wait to introduce all of you to Luca Anderson. And I'll be interviewing him multiple times here on my webcast as well. He's brilliant. He's brilliant. Yeah. He's an AI gift from God. He's amazing. Okay. All right, next up, Abel wrote, what does AI affect and the benefits in the finance industry for the future? Yeah, so finance companies are using AI a lot right now and machine learning, which is a subset of AI. They're using machine learning and AI in order to understand fraud detection, right? So for example, if you're using your credit card in a certain store at a weird time, machine learning will look at that, AI will look at that, and your credit card might be put on hold. Until you verify that it's actually you. So a lot of finance companies are using it for fraud detection. Yeah. So that's what I would say. Now, finance it's a very broad term, the finance industry. Fraud detection is being used in AI, stock selection as well, risk management, portfolio diversification, et cetera, much, much more. However, in financial services, particularly in large investment banks, 75 to 80% of the jobs are sales oriented. And I don't think that AI is going to replace the grip and grin process. Yeah. AI is not a person. Yeah. Okay. Moving on to Anurag, who wrote, Chris, I recently watched Ken Griffin interview. Yeah. Amazing guy. Yeah. He's great. So Ken Griffin is the CEO founder of Citadel. I think he's going to be the richest man in the world at some point in time. I used to work at Citadel. I remember one day I spent half an hour with him in his office one-on-one in Chicago when I worked there. Talking to him. We talked about, obviously, stocks, talked about video games. He was a gamer. He loved sports games at the time. And a lot of the code actually at Citadel in the algorithms that they use, the older code he created in the 80s is still being used today. He's amazing. And whenever I meet with somebody successful and more successful than me, which is every meeting, whenever I'm in their office, the first thing I do is I look at their bookshelf. And when I looked at Ken Griffin's bookshelf, he had books by Damadorian, who's an NYU professor in finance. And I always order those books using Amazon when I'm in the elevator on the way down. So if you're going to read textbooks, I would say check out Professor Damadorian from NYU. Okay. All right. So I watched an interview with Ken Griffin. Amazing guy. He is. Yeah. The reporter mentioned Citadel, the most profitable hedge fund ever, to which Ken Griffin agreed. Yeah. Yeah. And they're just getting started, man. Last year, Citadel made $16 billion, which is twice as much as any other hedge fund. And it was a record, too. Yeah, he's brilliant. Yeah. And he made a smart decision by getting out of Illinois and moving to Florida, where taxes are lower. Something I've thought about doing, too. Not yet, though. Okay. And Tony Robbins, who used to be based in Southern California, he picked up and moved to Florida as well for tax reasons. And it's breaking my heart to see taxes where they are right now here in the West Coast. I thought a lot of people leaving California to go to Texas would have caused Gavin Newsom and the government here to say, hey, we should cut taxes. But the problem is the people that want lower taxes, that are arguing for lower taxes, have left. Yeah. And Texas is having their own issues too with that as well. I try to stay away from politics, but Matthew McConaughey said, all you people from California, y'all are welcome to come to Texas, but leave your politics at home. I think having differing opinions is healthy for an economy, as long as they're not extreme or hurtful. And I don't want too many states to become centrist. I think difference of opinions is healthy. Okay. All right. Okay. All right, next up, Pranav wrote, why are the Abu Dhabi, it's fun to say it with me, Abu Dhabi. Why are the Abu Dhabi royal family investors shorting U.S. stocks? Is a recession coming? I have no idea about that. In recession right now, it's 50-50 by the end of the year. I don't think it's going to be an extreme recession. What would be more worrisome than recession is stagflation. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. All right. Ahmed wrote, thank you so much. I was actually planning to purchase the silver MBA. Much love to you and your family. Damn it. I hate when I give it away to people that were going to buy anyway. No, I'm kidding. I love you. I'm looking forward to getting to know you as well and humbly helping you. Yeah. And again, email support@harounventures.com and I'll give you silver for free. Okay. Oh, great. It looks like Web3 Gaming, who is Peyton Kalawahea, can do Zoom. You guys want to hear from Peyton. He's great. So Peyton, I'm going to set up Zoom. And then once you join, what I'll do is I'll put you on here. Okay. And Peyton used to work in the United States Navy in surface warfare. And then so he lived in San Diego. He and his family moved to Tulsa, Oklahoma. Cool. All right. So what I'll do is I'll look for you here, and then when you come on, I'll put you on as well. Okay. Okay. I'm excited. All right. Next up, Kevin wrote, hi, Chris. I think you skipped my question. I don't see it here, Kevin, at all. I'm looking. I don't see it anywhere. By the way, there are certain things you cannot do, and YouTube strips out. You can't put any hyperlink in, otherwise I don't see it. And if there's certain words that have to do with the pandemic, they're stripped out as well. Yeah. Yeah. And I realized that freedom of speech, and I'm going to, freedom of speech is a government thing. It's not a platform thing. Okay. So if you want, just repaste it or type it a little bit different if there are certain words you included. Yeah. Okay. Next up, Eduardo wrote, hi, Chris. What are your thoughts on Anheuser-Busch stock? As we all know, it's a big dive. Is it a good stock to buy? Yeah. What I would do is I would create a financial model, okay, and look at what you think earnings will be in 5 or 10 years and value the company based on that earnings multiple. And that will help you decide. Yeah. Okay, next question is, should I short stocks now? I don't give investment advice. Yeah. But I recommend writing a full research report first, and I provide you with all the tools and templates on how to do that in my MBA program, which will help you decide whether or not to bet against the company. But be careful with shorting, though, because with shorting a stock, if the stock goes up, your losses can be unlimited. I don't recommend it. Like with GameStop, which went up 29.4 times in January of 2021. What happened was, people lost a fortune. Michael Jordan, apparently, according to people familiar with the matter, lost $500 million doing that because your losses can be unlimited. Instead of shorting, think about puts. Because if you buy a put, the most you can lose is the amount you paid for the put. Yeah. Okay. And then Peyton wrote here, I got to get going. Much love. You changed my life. Thankful for you. Thank you so much, man. God bless you. I miss you. I hope to meet you here in the Bay Area if you can make it for the annual graduation event, networking events in August. Yeah. Okay. So no Zoom then. Cool. Okay. All right. Next up, Taylor wrote, how do you move from operation team to an investment team at a credit hedge fund that invests in CLOs and private credit? Yeah. Okay. Yeah. A lot of people go from the back office at hedge funds to the trading floor, and some of them move on to become analysts as well. Now, it's hard to do, but you have to network like crazy. And I'm going to answer this question generically to apply to everybody. So if anybody's working at a company and you want to change divisions, you have to network internally. Like there's a reason why so many people that start in the mailroom become CEOs, because they understand how to network. The mail dude that comes to your desk and says top of the morning to you. Did you see you see Golden State beat LA last night? I was like, yeah, great game. Like bond with sports or whatever it is. And you got to do the same thing internally as well. Now, people that have gone from the mailroom with no education become CEO include the former CEO of Goldman Sachs, Sidney Weinberg, who's CEO for a couple decades. You got Simon Cowell from American Idol. You've got David Geffen, who started Geffen Records. You got Barry Diller, who started Interactive, big internet conglomerate. They all network like crazy. So for you in a hedge fund or any company, if you want to get a role in a different department, you got to network internally. Find ways to sit down with people that are more senior, that can mentor you, that have something in common with you. How do you know if you have something in common with them? Go to their Twitter profile, see who they follow. If they follow, I don't know, basketball, you can talk basketball with them, for example. Do an advanced search in LinkedIn for people in your company and find people who have something in common. Maybe they're from the same hometown as you. Maybe they went to the same high school, same undergrad, whatever it is. Find ways to sit down with them and get to know them. We all need Yodas or mentors. And what you can also do, Taylor, is you can start writing one-page research reports on good, long, or short ideas in your hedge fund and give them to portfolio managers that work at your hedge fund once you get to know them on a personal level. You do that enough times, and using the templates and tools I provide you with my MBA program, then it's a matter of time until you get asked to interview for that position. Yeah. This stuff works. Okay. Okay. Next up, Daniel from California wrote, thank you for the streams and courses. You're most welcome. You have mentioned that CEOs are really good salespeople. They are. Yeah, that's what they are. An entrepreneur is a good salesperson. A CEO is a good salesperson. Yeah. You got to learn to sell yourself. And that starts with learning how to network, which I teach in my MBA program. You wrote, I agree with this, but how do you differentiate if they say something accurate versus just hype or marketing an image? Yeah. Well, I mean, being a good salesperson, number one, comes to relationships. Okay, networking, getting to know somebody on a personal level. Okay, then you market your product, service, whatever it is. And of course, we're always ethical with that. As Warren Buffett said, it takes 30 years to build a reputation and 30 seconds to ruin it. Yeah. But sales comes with networking first, getting to know somebody first a bit, and then pitching a product or service. And whenever you pitch a product or service, and I teach about this in my MBA degree program as well, of which this is a part of. Whenever you're pitching a product or service, there's a couple things to keep in mind. Number one, you don't want to just talk about the positive stuff. You want to talk about risks as well, okay? Because you got to maintain credibility. Also, the second you sense that somebody is interested in your product or service, I want you to stop selling right away. Okay. And that includes in interviews. How do you know they're interested in you in an interview? Well, in the second half of the interview, if they start saying positive things about the company, subconsciously they're trying to sell you. At that point, stop selling. Okay. And if you sell past the close, you're going to lose the sale. What does that mean? Well, let's say you're selling a product or a service. And the other person, you could tell they're interested. What's going on in their mind is this as you sell to them. Gosh, I like this person, first and foremost. I trust this person. I like this product that they're saying. I really like it. I'm going to buy. Wait a second. Why do they continue to sell it? I'm already interested. Am I missing something? Why am I so lucky to be given this opportunity? I'm not buying. And there's many other tips and tricks to sales I teach in my MBA program. Yeah. Okay. All right. Give me 1 second, guys. Okay. All right. Okay. Okay. Next question is from T, who wrote, can you potentially move to the investment team from the operations team? Okay. A similar question to before. Yeah. You can by networking. Yeah. Okay. And then Manas wrote, thank you for everything, my mentor. See you again and again. Great to see you, buddy. And God bless you. And I look forward to one day when you come to California so I can take you to my favorite dosa restaurant. And when the bill comes, of course, I'm going to do this. I have alligator hands. I can't find my wallet. T-Rex can't do push-ups either. Of course, I'll pay for it. Okay. All right. Moving on to Anurag, who wrote, Chris, what about you promised to visit India? We alumni of Haroun Education Ventures would join for a masala dosa together. I will eventually. Thank you. And I love India. I went to Delhi and Mumbai, and my favorite food on the planet, you're going to laugh at me, is Punjabi Grill, which is airport food, the dosa there. That changed my life. Yeah. Okay. Thank you. All right. Okay. Moving on to Bakul, who wrote, future of rolling funds / syndicate versus traditional venture capital funds. Yeah, a lot of people talk about micro lending. The problem is, like, most venture capital investments go to zero. Most of them go to zero. And 1% of all investments in the top 10 venture capital firms are unicorns, meaning billion-dollar companies. Sequoia, who I partnered with before, 5% of their investments become billion-dollar companies. It's so hard to do, right? You can't just. I don't think that the venture capital industry will be materially disrupted by micro lending or microtransactions or micro investing, right? Because the reality is only the top 10 or 15 or so venture capital firms can really make money in the long run because they're very, very good at assessing a good management team. If you go to Sequoia's website, you'll see that they kind of focus on the management team and not the startups. Let me show you what that means. So let's go to sequoiacap.com. And Sequoia is the best venture capital firm in history. They led the Series A on a company called Cohesti, and we led the Series B, the VC firm I worked at before, and I was on the board there. Sequoiacap.com. Yeah. Okay. Here it is here. Yeah, they focus mainly on the entrepreneur and less on the companies. Yeah. Yeah, and I think they just changed their website, but before they used to actually have pictures of all the founders. Maybe this is it here. Yeah, here it is here. Yeah. So they're focusing here on the individuals and less so on the companies because ideas are commodities, but execution is not. Yeah. And by the way, with Zoom, if they can figure out using Zoom how to have a metaverse type Zoom product in the long run, I think this could become $1 trillion company, Zoom, if they can figure it out. But as of now, metaverse is MEH taverse. Okay, let me get out of here and get back on track here. Okay. All right, moving on. Next question is... Okay, so Awez wrote, I'm enrolling in Angela Yu's machine learning course. She's amazing. She's incredible. Yeah, she's great. Yeah. In addition to your MBA degree, I listened to all the podcasts from day one. Oh, thank you. On my iPhone, working. You mentioned her quite a few times. She is wonderful. I've met with her before. I did a Zoom call with her not too long ago as well. I first met her in, I think it was Berlin. Yeah, she's great. She's incredible. Yeah. And her delivery is killer. And that's why AI will never replace teachers, I don't think, because the way she teaches it is just so engaging. And she has really good dad humor, or mom humor, I guess, better than mine. And if you meet me in real life, you'll see that I'm a really small person. Okay. I know I've used that one before. And always laugh at me, not with me, please. Okay. All right, a couple more questions, then we'll wrap up. All right. Next up, CW wrote, hey, Chris, what other courses, partnerships would you do? After your Python programming, would you be interested in AI courses together with us from Singapore here? Yeah. For business development, I get 5 or 10 inbounds every single day. Just email support@harounventures.com. Yeah, if you'd like. Yeah. I probably don't have time to be able to do something like that. I'm so sorry. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. Okay. Eric wrote, please update on graduation in August. Yeah. Yeah. So for those of you only in the Gold and Platinum MBA program, we have an annual networking and graduation event. Christina Hong should email everybody or maybe check the Slack channels for it. It's going to be a 2-day event, August 12th, that's a Saturday, and August 13th, that's a Sunday, here in Burlington, California. Yeah. Okay. And for those in the Platinum program, you all get half-hour one-on-ones on the Sunday as well. Yeah. Okay. Okay, next up question is, I've been watching your live stream on and off for 2 to 3 years. I always feel more hopeful for the future when I'm here. Thanks for being here with us. You're most welcome, Poison Edris. Thank you. Thank you. God bless you. Yeah. And for anybody worried about their careers, I always say this. Don't worry, because God already knows what's going to happen. And Winston Churchill once said, I once met a man on his deathbed who talked about all the worries he had in his life, none of which came true. And for those of you going through tough times now, career-wise, I say this with all of my heart, don't worry. You might look back upon this years from now and tell yourself, thank you, God, for guiding me down a different path. And God always has a plan. Okay. Okay. Eric from Florida, who's in my gold program, wrote, I'm so excited from taking your class that I forgot to eat. Thank you. And then you wrote, to date, down 87 pounds. Nicely done, man. Very cool. The best advice I've gotten is non-MBA stuff like touch once. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, my MBA program, I talk about, God bless you, I'm happy for you. I talk about, lessons I've learned in life, like touch hand once. Like, don't ever let a piece of paper touch your hand more than once. I talk about it in more detail in my MBA program. Yeah, thank you. Okay. Oh my goodness. Scrapper33T, who is Simon from Bulgaria. Good to see it. It's been a while, man. Good to see you. And thank you so much for the advice your mother sent me as well. That is helpful. I'm trying to be a little bit more engaging when I present. Yeah, I love you. And I hope your daughter's doing great. You wrote, hey, Chris, thank you for doing this every week. You're most welcome. Thank you. You wrote, can you please share what your standing desk and walking treadmill is? Thank you. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So let me show you guys right here. I do apologize for the mess. So I have a standing desk. And basically what I do is I get 20,000 steps a day. And I'll type here. Let me move my water. I'll type here, and I have to keep my Apple Watch actually in my pocket because when you're typing all day, that won't count the steps. Yeah. And so the desk, I'll give you a better brand than the one I have. Okay. Um, this is called Lift Desk, but I've got a better one. It's called Jarvis, made by a company called Fully. Okay, and search for coupon codes. And I'll talk about the treadmill in a second. I'll give you all the links as well. Okay, so there's a website here, fully.com. Is it one L or two L's? Let me see if I can remember. Fully, it's called the Jarvis Desk. Okay, give me a second to find it. All right, yeah, it's two L's, Fully. And what you can do here is you can customize any desk you want, create it from scratch. Okay. Yeah. So you can select, and I think they just changed their website. Let me go to shop now, see if I can find it here. Here we go. Desks. Yeah, you customize a desk, right? You can make it as wide as possible that you want to. You can also pay a little bit more to have a motorized uplift system. Okay. And you can also order chairs from here. Get the Herman Miller Aeon chair if you want. Yeah. So you start here, you customize the color and everything. It's pricey. That's why you got to search for coupons. They'll rip you off if you don't get coupons. Okay. But you start here, you customize it from scratch. And this is what it looks like on the side there for the Fully desk. In terms of the other stuff, the treadmill, I'll show you what I use. Okay, hold on a second. My orders. There you go. Okay. Treadmill. Search orders. Here you go. Yeah, it's called the Rhythm Fun right here. And the price actually is amazingly cheap. This is one of the best investments you'll ever make, man. This treadmill here, you can put it under the desk like this if you want. It goes 6 kilometers per hour max. Okay. And then what you can also do is you can shove it under, it's got wheels. You can put it under a couch as well. Let me show you how it works actually. We'll do this in real time. Sorry for all the screens here, guys. All right, I'll go here to my side messy angle. So I've got this remote here. I'll turn it on and I'll show you the fastest it goes. Okay, and I'm walking on this thing all day long when I'm not teaching, but I do use it during my one-on-one meetings too. So it's right now it's 3 kilometers an hour, going all the way up to 6. So here's the fastest it will go right here. So I usually walk at this pace all day unless I'm moving an image or a graphic around. Let me stop it. Okay. And the reason I do it is because I realized when I was younger that when I used to study for 1 hour in the morning, getting up early, it was like 10 hours at night, right? You're fresh. And I realized by biohacking that if I exercise while I'm working, it feels like I just woke up. So a 10-hour day is like a 100-hour day. I'm much more productive. Yeah. If you treat this right, this works gooder. Yeah. Try it. It works. Yeah. The only issue is you need air conditioning as well. Yeah. And this is what they do in television shows and movies and stuff. They put this crap on you. Yeah. Okay. All right. A couple more minutes here and then we'll wrap it up here. Okay. And thank you, Simon. God bless you. Yeah. Okay. And Andrew, thank you so much for joining my YouTube subscription service to get my courses as well. Thank you. All right. Next up, Eric wrote, was the Roaring 20s, meaning the 1920s, you wrote here, yeah. Was the Roaring 20s caused by the rollout of electricity? Is AI going to be more transforming? I think it was part of the, post World War II, World War One industrial economy explosion. I guess, yeah. You know better than I would, yeah. Also, the stock market went up tremendously and then crashed towards the end of the decade, which is why the SEC was created. Is AI going to be more transforming? I think AI is going to be just as transforming as the birth of the internet or the birth of mobile phones. It's that big of a deal. Yeah. Okay, and that's why I'm going all in on that for my MBA program as well. Okay. All right. Simon wrote here, what are your thoughts on buying a boring business like a plumbing, roofing, or an electrical business? There's a lot out there now about the baby boomers retiring and selling their businesses. Yeah, yeah. It's interesting you say that because every single week in the United States, 100,000 baby boomers retire. And that's why the unemployment rate looks artificially low, because the unemployment rate is only based on people looking for work. But as baby boomers retire, they're not looking for work. Yeah. It's funny you say that. A lot of my students actually are contacting me about buying companies from baby boomers retiring. What you want to do is you want to go to the Venture Capital Bootcamp, which is the third semester of the MBA program. And then you want to model out the cash flow you think you can make from this company every single year, and then discount that back into today's terms. Yeah. And private equity firms are looking at these types of businesses all the time, and they tend to want to look at companies that have an EBITDA multiple of well under 5 times. Yeah. Okay, but really, what you're doing, Simon, is you're buying their client list. That's what you're doing. Yeah. So I would really focus on how sticky the customer base is. And if you're going to do it, what I would do is I would make sure the founder of the company stays with your firm for at least 2 years, because they have all the relationships if you buy the firm. Okay. And much love to your mother. Okay, Saeed. Hey, Saeed. Wrote, hey, Chris, what do you think about opening a construction business? It's like anything else. It's all about relationships. You know, if you have great relationships with government agencies or people that work in government operations, you might do well. And it's important because during economic recessions, governments often spend more money, right? It's called fiscal policy, on building bridges, roads, highways, walls, whatever it is. Yeah. So I would focus on relationships first. Yeah. Okay. And before you start any company, what I want you to do is I want you to write a full business plan, because failing to plan is planning to fail. In the third quarter, or pardon me, the third semester of my MBA degree program, in the entrepreneurship track, we spend the first 15 hours of the third semester on you writing a business plan, and I help you with it as well. Yeah. Never start a company without writing a full business plan. And focus on the financials too. A lot of people focus only on the qualitative stuff, but you got to focus on the financials, even if it's a really basic income statement. Yeah, because without data, it's an opinion, not a real thesis. Yeah. Okay. And the way you know you have a good business plan is if you finish it. Yeah. Okay. And don't start a company without a business plan, please. Right? Because it's one of the most important decisions you'll make. And if you start a company without, thorough due diligence, meaning a business plan, and it fails, then, that could destroy your health, your wealth, your friendships, everything in your life. Yeah. Okay. Eric wrote, what crypto broker should I consider? Coinbase? I use Coinbase, but look, regardless of what crypto exchange you're going to be using or wallet-based company, make sure that you store your cryptos in a cold storage wallet, like a Trezor, okay? Not a hot storage wallet. And hot means it requires electricity, like up in the cloud. Yeah, because these firms can go belly up. Yeah, and to learn more about Coinbase, just do a search on my YouTube channel. I did a big segment on them as well. Okay. All right, next up, Andrew wrote, hey, Chris, I just bought the complete business plan course on Udemy. Thank you for that. You wrote, looking forward to these sessions, starting my third business, a bus passenger Wi-Fi and onboard marketing service. We can't all drive EVs. Awesome. Nicely done. Nicely done. What I would probably do for that, the bus Wi-Fi business, I'd probably take a look at Boingo. They've done that with the airline industry as well. If you want, you can take a look to see what their business model is. Yeah. Okay, and then Ginny wrote, I booked a ticket to San Francisco for the graduation this year. Have you decided where the graduation will be at? I have, yeah. We won't publicly disclose it though, because it's only for gold and platinum members. But Christina, reach out to Christina. Christina Hong. She has all the details. Yeah. Okay. Okay. Next up, Will. Hey, Will, how are you, man? It's been a while. Will wrote, "Can we get an invite to the gold graduation event if we're silver students?" I'm so sorry, I can't. Only because space is limited. Yeah. Thank you, though. Yeah. Okay, but my next gold and platinum class will start next year. Yeah. Thank you. Okay. Next question is from Eric. Who is backing SpaceX? It's a private company. I don't really know. I'm assuming it's mainly Elon with a massive customer, NASA. So probably Elon and the United States government indirectly. Yeah. Okay. All right. Let's see here. Okay. Okay. Question from Anurag. Chris, what are some of the investing mistakes you've made in your professional career and mistakes in your life in general? And what would you do introspect-wise? Yeah. So probably investments where I've been short-term focused, or investments when I've relied on advice from other people instead of doing the research myself. Aside from other mistakes I've made in my life, I guess I'm pretty happy with the way things worked out so far. Nobody's perfect, but probably not following my passion early on in life. You know, I guess I was a little bit insecure and, wanted to impress other people through my jobs or university I went to and stuff. But that's a recipe for disaster, trying to live your life to please others. Yeah. And probably not chasing my passion for teaching earlier on. Yeah. And for me, this is not work. That's why I have the stamina to teach 4 MBA classes at the exact same time while I'm creating content, while I'm writing books, writing articles, etc. It's just fun. Once you find a profession that you love, as Confucius said, you'll never work a day for the rest of your life. And that's my goal within my MBA program. I feel like I'm a waiter. This is where I proposed to my wife, Christine. She said yes. I feel like I'm a waiter. And whenever you go to a restaurant, you look at the whole menu. You only choose 1 or 2 items, but you look at everything. And I feel like I'm a waiter for all of you, here to serve you, because I expose you to all different types of business, careers, startups, investments, etc. And you just choose what you're most passionate about. You choose whatever you enjoy the most. You don't order food you don't like at restaurants. I want you to find an occupation you love, and then I've done my job and fulfilled my purpose. Okay, great. I see there's a couple more questions here. If you're in the Silver MBA, I'm looking forward to seeing you in about 12 minutes. I'm going to end the webcast now. Looking forward to seeing you in about 12 minutes. In the Silver MBA, if you go to the first lesson in the curriculum, you'll see a link for the Zoom that starts at 10 a.m. today. I'd ask that only Silver students join that. For Platinum and Gold students, you can join the Zoom that starts today at 11:20. It's a 2-hour Zoom. And I've got one-on-ones this afternoon with other students, I think, in Platinum. Again, quick reminder, next week there will be no webcast, as I'm going to be in Southern California. We're renting a couple of Hollywood studios to film something pretty big. I can't wait to show you. God bless y'all. Click like and subscribe for more detail on my courses. You know the website to go to and all that good stuff. God bless y'all. I love you too, Anurag, and everybody on this call. Have a great week. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to end this webcast with life-changing advice from Steve Jobs based on a video that I feel so strongly about that I licensed it from the Silicon Valley Historical Association. God bless you all. I'll see you in 2 weeks. Thank you.
When you grow up, you tend to get told that the world is the way it is, and your life is just to live your life inside the world, try not to bash into the walls too much, try to have a nice family life, have fun, save a little money. But life, that's a very limited life. Life can be much broader once you discover one simple fact, and that is everything around you that you call life was made up by people that were no smarter than you. And you can change it. You can influence it. You can build your own things that other people can use. And the minute that you understand that you can poke life and actually something will, if you push in, something will pop out the other side, that you can change it, you can mold it, That's maybe the most important thing, is to shake off this erroneous notion that life is there and you're just going to live in it, versus embrace it, change it, improve it, make your mark upon it. I think that's very important. And however you learn that, once you learn it, you'll want to change life and make it better, because it's kind of messed up in a lot of ways. Once you learn that, you'll never be the same again.